Hi folks, it's Marvin Music with MedicareSchool.com, and we want to thank you for being a part of today's live Q&A event. Looking forward to fielding your questions about Medicare and Social Security. And before I get into that, I just want to mention a couple things. If you're very new, brand new to our platform, we're glad you're part of this. If you came through Facebook, we'd love for you to join that group or through our YouTube channel, become a subscriber. We always notify you of things that we have going on. We produce a tremendous amount of content here at MedicareSchool.com. I do some. Erica Smiley, one of our other agents, does a lot of content as well. But our whole goal of our channel is to make sure that you are informed and up to date and that you have the information that you need to make great Medicare decisions. We encourage people, don't make Medicare decisions without a lot of thought, without some planning. And so that's really our goal, is to come alongside you and assist you in any way that we can to know what you're doing, to make sure you understand the details, the consequences of your choices, so that when you go on Medicare, whenever that is, you'll have no regrets. And we have, I think, 70,000 people that we've already helped on Medicare, and we do it every day. And we're really dedicated to making sure that your journey into Medicare is understandable, somewhat enjoyable, as enjoyable as insurance can be, and then that you're happy with that choice. All right, so that's what we do. And so this event is part of what we do. And so also every Monday night I do a thing called Medicare Monday, where we dive into topics and really kind of get into the weeds and spend about 30 minutes or so just talking about different aspects of Medicare. But today it really is about just covering one item very quickly, maybe 7 minutes or so, and then I'm going to dig right into your questions. Daniel, our producer, is with me, and so as you give us questions, and by the way, you can start doing that right now, be sure that we can understand your question. From time to time, some people are so concise that we cannot figure out what you're asking, and so we can't help you unless we understand your question. So be sure to keep that in mind. And also, if you need immediate help beyond just what I'm dealing with today, we are Medicare brokers. We write in all 50 states. And so we help people all over the country, and we'd be delighted to serve as your Medicare broker. You can call in and speak to an agent that I personally know, that I personally have trained, and so they share my same passion about doing the right thing and the commitment to make sure that you really do understand your options, because that's the key before you start making Medicare choices. All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk about a $10,000 bill. And by the way, folks, this happens, sadly, where people end up getting large bills. In fact, let me just share before I get into the topic a very interesting stat. Right now in our country, there's like $220 billion or $225 billion of medical debt, bills that have not been paid. Most of these bills are either in bankruptcy or definitely in collections. $225 billion of that. And the second largest holder of medical debt today are those people that are eligible for Medicare, 65 and above. The second largest group, and it's very, very sad. And the reason for that is because this group of people were not able to pay their out-of-pocket expenses that they had when they went through some kind of a serious health event. All right, and so when we talk about $10,000 bills, this is reality. It happens. And if you're not prepared for a $10,000 bill, then you could really be in a mess. And so we're going to talk about how could this happen? Why does it happen? Let me tell you why. Because there are people today that will make the decision to enroll into Medicare A and B only. They don't do anything beyond A and B. A is inpatient, B is outpatient. But what people don't realize is that Medicare doesn't pay for anything 100% other than preventive services. So if you go in for a certain screening or maybe a wellness checkup, a welcome to Medicare physical, or maybe an immunization, hey, that's covered at 100%. But that's just a fraction of the healthcare services that people are going to need throughout their life. So those are covered 100%, but everything else, folks, there will always be a balance to the bill, a balance remaining for that healthcare service. And so we call those remaining balances that you're responsible for gaps in coverage. And so kind of in summary, we have 3 gaps on the A of Medicare, and we have 3 gaps on the B of Medicare. So when I mention these gaps, what I'm saying is if you need healthcare services, you will be financially responsible for these gaps. The first one would be, we'll talk about those on the A and then those on the B, but the A gaps are this. If you go to the hospital, you're responsible for a deductible. This deductible is not annual. It can happen and does happen multiple times in a year if you have health events throughout the year. And so this A deductible this year is $1,676. Not real high, but high enough where if you have it a couple times in the year, it could hurt. So this is what we pay when we go to the hospital. Medicare covers well, but you have to pay the deductible, $1,676. Now, if a person happens to be in the hospital longer than 60 continuous days, pretty rare, but when it happens, there's a serious illness, and people get themselves into what we call extended hospital stays. And after we've met the deductible, which covers us the first 60 days, after that, month 3 cost us $419 a day. Month 4 and month 5 cost us $838 a day. Out of our pocket. So month 3 costs you about $12,500. Month 4 and 5 would be $25,000 each. And again, it's rare, but it still happens. And then the last gap on the A of Medicare is for skilled nursing facilities. People go to skilled nursing facilities sometimes after a hip replacement, almost always after a stroke, maybe an illness or an accident, injury where they need some rehabilitation. Could be physical rehabilitation, could be mental, but they need some rehab. And so they go to skilled nursing facility, and Medicare only covers the first 20 days. So if you're in longer than 20 days, which is normal, you have to pay a daily copay of $209.50 a day. And so Medicare covers the first 20, but after that you have to pay something. Those are the gaps on the A. The B side also has gaps, 3 of them. We have a deductible, $257 once a year. And after that, here's the big gap, and that's 20% coinsurance. So if you have a serious illness, everything on the B side of Medicare, which is everything outpatient, all doctor services, whether in or outpatient, you're going to have to pay 20% of the bill. So if the surgeon gets $10,000 from Medicare, you're going to have to pay $2,000. And that 20% never, ever stops. And then the last gap doesn't happen often, but a slight chance, and that is if you went to a doctor that added to the bill or a surgeon that added to the bill, that's a 15% add-on. And when that add-on occurs, it's called an excess charge, and you would be responsible to pay for that. Again, it's not often, but it still could happen. And here's my point. People have these $10,000 bills because they have no insurance to cover the gaps. And so that's why people get Medigap policies to fill in those gaps. Most people today are getting a G plan or an N plan. They're both wonderful options depending upon where you live and the price difference between those two. But the G plans cover 5 of the 6 gaps. Guarantee you're not going to be hurt by a $10,000 bill if you have a G plan, because you are going to have to pay $257 once a year out of your pocket, and then you're done. You'll never be hit with a large bill. You pay the premium for the G, and it's going to cover everything but the B deductible. The second plan that's very, very good, especially in certain markets, is the N plan. And it covers well, but it doesn't cover 2 gaps. The B deductible, $257, and if you ever had excess charges, you would have to pay that. Again, it didn't happen often, but N does not cover excess. And then anytime you see a doctor go to the emergency room, you're going to have a very small, reasonable copay. But again, if you had an N plan, you're not going to see some kind of a $10,000 bill that you can't pay. That's just not going to happen. And so the people that get hit with these large bills have A and B only, and they didn't have any insurance to cover those financial gaps. Hence, that's why they're filing bankruptcy or having to go to collections. Now, there is another way to avoid a $10,000 bill. Now, it could be $5,000 or $7,000 on a serious illness, but probably not going to be $10,000, and that would be someone that enrolls into an Advantage plan. The Advantage plan is not going to be quite as comprehensive of a coverage as your Medicare supplemental plan, but most of them don't carry any kind of a premium. You pay Medicare, your Part B, but you usually don't have to pay a premium for your Medicare Advantage plan. So what they do, instead of having all these gaps, what they will do is just simply, you'll have to pay copays along the way. Go to the hospital, maybe $400 a day. But again, you're not going to get to $10,000 going to the hospital. It may cost you $2,000. May go in for $400 a day, and you pay up to 5 days and you're done. But the point is, this pay-as-you-go system is still tons better than having A and B only. My opinion, A and B only is the worst option. Then the next best would be your Advantage plan. I think the very best would be a supplemental. However, some people can't afford or don't want to afford a premium on a supplemental plan. Therefore, get an Advantage plan. At least you have a max out of pocket that's not going to drive you into bankruptcy or into collections. Okay? So that's why folks end up with these large bills, because they just simply do not have adequate insurance. All right, so I hope that helps. Daniel, I'm ready to take questions. All right, Ernesto, do I need to turn on Medicare 12/1/2025 or 1/26? My birthday is New Year's Eve. Yeah, you're actually going to start at 12/1/2025. If you were born 1/1/2026, you would also start 12/1 because if I'm born on the first day of the month, I always move to the previous month. And if I'm born during the month, which would be, in the second day thereafter, which is you, then you're going to actually start your December in this example. He says, my birthday is New Year's Eve. That's 12/31. So you're still born in December. You're going to start at 12/1/2025. And so you have 3 months in advance to start enrolling. So that would be November, that would be October, and that would be September. So coming up soon, you can enroll in a Medicare. Now, if you're already on Social Security, then your Medicare card is going to show up here between the 15th and tomorrow and the 25th. Anyone that's enrolled in Social Security already receiving benefits will be automatically enrolled into Medicare A and B, and the card shows up about 100 days prior. But if you have to self-enroll because you're not on Social Security, you would do that after September 1 because your effective date will be 12/1/2025. All right, next, here we go. Curtis, hello, Marvin. Spoke with Evan yesterday. What a great guy. He's very knowledgeable and so patient. Really makes this whole Medicare process decision sustainable. Thanks so much. Hey, Curtis, you are welcome. And Evan is a top-notch guy. He is a pro. He knows this business well, been with us a long time, and I am delighted to hear a good report. I'm honestly not surprised because Evan takes care of people very, very well. And so, Curtis, thanks for giving us the opportunity to be able to serve as your agent. All right, during open enrollment, can we change from one G plan to another G without going through underwriting? First off, open enrollment that's coming up October 15th to December 7th has nothing to do with G plans or N plans, nothing at all. Folks, remember this. The open enrollment season we're about to be involved with, October 15th to December 7th, are for Medicare plans that are written for 1 year at a time. Those are Advantage plans and prescription drug plans. Has nothing at all to do with supplemental plans. Now, other than you may want to change your drug plan. So let's talk about your question. So again, it has nothing to do with open enrollment. And so moving from G to a G plan in most states requires medical underwriting, most states. And so in order to move G to G, we have to go through the underwriting process. We have to ask you about 35 or 40 health questions, check your medications, maybe get a statement from your doctor, and we gather that medical information. We give it to the insurance company that then evaluates your pre-existing conditions. They evaluate your medications. And as long as you're fairly healthy and they're comfortable with your situation, they will approve that you can move to a G with no underwriting. However, if you have some kind of a serious health issue, let's say you have rheumatoid arthritis or spinal stenosis, or you're in the midst of cancer, or you have AFib, or you're an insulin-dependent diabetic, and there's a variety of things where if the insurance company doesn't like your health conditions, pre-existing conditions, or your present treatments that you're going through, then they have every right to deny you unless you live in a state that has what is called a birthday rule, or Missouri, similar, but Missouri calls it the anniversary rule. And so the birthday rule is most common terminology, and what this is a period of time surrounding your birthday. And again, there's about 14 states that have this. They vary, but it's around your birthday. It could be 30 days before your birthday, 30 days after. It could be from your birthday for the next 60 days. So it's going to vary state to state. But during this period of time, most states that have a birthday rule allow you to change insurance companies. You can move from a G to a G, and usually a G to an N. Some states are just like to like. Most are like to like or like to less, G to G, G to N. If you have an N plan, you just move to another N plan. And those states, I'll kind of rattle them off, would be California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, state of Nevada, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Missouri, again called anniversary, tied to anniversary of the policy, not the birthday, but same concept. State of Illinois, up to age 75, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia. So these are the dozen states or so that allow you to make that move. So wherever you're calling in from, if you want to call in and talk to one of our agents, we can let you know if you live in a birthday rule state, and you can move like to like or like to less with no underwriting. Now, listen, if you're healthy, folks, or fairly healthy, meaning nothing serious going on, you can move a supplemental plan anytime you want to. We just have to, again, ask you the health questions, check your medications, if insurance company likes what they see. And again, you don't have to be ready to run a marathon to get approved. But as long as you're genuinely healthy, we can make that switch anytime during the year. All right, let's keep going. All right, if I have traditional Medicare Supplemental Plan G plus Part D, of course, does it make sense to continue an AFLAC cancer policy also, or should I be pretty much covered if it ever happens? Well, first off, the reason that people will get a cancer policy is not always just for the medical expenses, because sometimes when people get cancer, there's additional expenses just beyond what AFLAC's going to, what your MedSup's going to pay and Medicare will pay. There could be expense for travel. You may be trying some maybe alternative medicine type, therapies, more naturopathic situations. If there's travel involved, there also could be a loss of income. Maybe you're still working and no longer working. So there's a variety of reasons people will get those cancer policies, because it's not really insurance as though a bill is submitted to be paid. It is a flat fee that's paid to you. We call those indemnity policies. So if you had a cancer diagnosis and you have a cancer policy, and let's say it's for $10,000 or $20,000, once you have that diagnosis that's been confirmed, that insurance company, AFLAC in this example, will write a check to you for $10,000. You can use that money on whatever you want to. Again, travel, hotels, alternative medicine, a replacement of income, a variety of things. And so you have to decide if that extra amount of premium is worth it. And I would tell you, and I could go either way on this. You have great insurance because you already have a supplemental plan at G and Medicare. But again, there could be additional expenses. So if it's in the budget, I don't think it's unwise to keep that whatsoever, because they're usually very reasonable. And we've seen a lot of people benefit from those. But if you say, nah, I don't see it in my budget, don't want to do it, then certainly fine to drop it if it's not really affordable. All right, Jeffrey, I was on a G plan and meet my G deductible, but changed to the N plan. Do I have to meet my deductible again, being I switched? No, you don't. No. And the reason for that is because the way this works is Medicare sets the B deductible. So once that's been satisfied the year, regardless of the plan or the carrier, Medicare knows that deductible has been taken care of. So the only thing that's going to happen now that you have the N plan is that you could be subject to a doctor copay, specialist copay, those kind of copays up to $20. So that would change, but your deductible has been satisfied. Now, when that resets in January, then of course you're going to have to meet that. But even if you have the G plan, you still have to meet that annually beginning in January. So the answer to the question is no at all. All right, I live in Massachusetts. Which supplemental plan covers at least 5 gaps? Okay, well, Massachusetts is like Wisconsin and Minnesota. They're called waiver states. And in these states, they have G equivalents. That would be 5 to 6 gaps. So the way that we do that in these states is we have a base policy, and then there's some riders that we attach that to build that policy up to equivalent of a G plan. So what you need to do, if you don't mind, just call in and tell our agent where you're from, and they will actually talk to you about the base plan and the riders that are added to that to be equivalent to the G plan. Get those 5 gaps covered. We can do it. We do it all the time. All righty, live in Houston, plan to have teeth implant. Currently, I do have Medicare Advantage plan. Please let me know or recommend any dental plan for my teeth implant. Well, that is a tough question, okay, because there are some good dental plans that won't cover implants and others that will. So we really would have to begin with, who's your dentist, where do you plan on going, because it's always nice to select a plan where the dentist you want to go to is a network, and certainly going to have to make sure these implants are covered, because, again, every plan is going to be a little bit different. I don't know where you live, other than I know you're in Texas, but I know all the plans that are available. So if you want to call in and tell someone on the receptionist team that you're looking for a dental plan, they will give you some direction. I do want to share this with you. When it comes to implants, they're almost always about a 50-50 coverage, meaning if that dental implant is $2,000, then the insurance would pay $1,000 and you'd pay $1,000. Now, there are some plans that actually cover up to 60% for dental implants, but definitely not going to have, ever 100%, even 80. It's at best at 60, and usually it's about 50-50. All right, and so call in. Now, I want to tell everyone, if you are going to get a dental plan, the best time to get a dental plan is always when you're coming off a group plan. Within 30 days, sometimes 60 days of losing a group plan, you want to pick your dental plan then, because you don't have to have these waiting periods. And I can assure you, if a plan has a waiting period, that dental implant's not going to be covered for 6 months to a year. But if you're coming off group plan and you didn't go beyond that 30 to 60 days, then you would have that immediate coverage up to 50 or 60%. All right, let's keep going. Hey, I also want to mention about dental. You want to make sure that if you're going to have implants, you get a plan that's going to cover, a high dollar amount. Because some plans stop at for $1,500 annual coverage, but some will go as high as $5,000. So you want to get you a nice plan. All right, let's keep going. Mary, if I have FHB, Blue Cross Blue Shield basic plan, which is better, just keep FHB, or should I do Medicare, both Medicare and FHB? Well, I think it's wisest to do A and B first, and then let your FHB be the secondary payer. And when you do that, Mary, then Fed Blue that you're on will actually give you an $800 credit a year towards your Part B. In other words, I think they cut you a check or add it to your annuity or something. But again, they'll give you a credit because what you're doing for them is putting Medicare in the first payer position. They like that, so they'll give you $800. So basically, that's about $70 a month. So if your Part B right now is $185, depending upon IRMAs, but that reduces that down to about $115 a month. And so to me, I think it's best to have A and B, especially since you're going to get that reduction. I think people that have A only with FEHB, I don't like that option. A only just means then the FEHB is going to pay second to Medicare on the A side, inpatient side. But on the outpatient side, they're going to pay first and you pay second. So I like A and B with FEHB, and again, you'll get that discount then back from Fed Blue. Now, I will tell this, a lot of people, what they'll do sometimes is they'll do what we call an MA-only plan, because Fed Blue, Blue Cross Blue Shield, will also coordinate with the Medicare Advantage plan. And then that Advantage plan, as long as you get your medications through FEHB, they will give you about $150 a month towards Part B as well. So you're really, really pulling that Part B down substantially with an MA-only plan. Now, the issue will be an MA-only plan is Advantage, so you're still going to have a network. But if all your docs and specialists are a network, sometimes that's a very, very good option. And the beauty is it's not permanent. At all. You have your FHB, you have your traditional Medicare Advantage plan, and then if you don't like that option, then any year during Medicare's open enrollment season, you can drop your Medicare Advantage and then you just go back to A and B with your Federal Blue. So that's an option, and a lot of FHB people do that as well. And we write those plans. You want to call in and talk to an agent and get some more details, we'd like to have you do that. I think it'd be a great idea. All right, Daniel, who's next? How expensive is a G plan? Is that by state? Yes, it's going to vary. There could be some states on G plans in the neighborhood of $120 a month, $130 maybe, and then somewhere's upwards of $150, $160 a month. And I would say this, Lisa, if that is a little bit beyond the budget, but you want to get a supplemental plan, then get an implant. Because right now we'll see implants sometimes around $100 to $105 a month, sometimes a little bit lower. And so those are very, very attractive. Now it is true you're taking a little bit more risk, but it's not much because the excess charges are so rare. They can happen, but it's not often. And so if G doesn't work, get an implant, because with an implant, you still have the beauty of no pre-authorizations by the insurance company, like Advantage. You have a permanent plan. It's the same coverage everywhere in America. It's lifetime, pay the premium, you have it. You have no network issues to deal with, go anywhere that takes Medicare. So there's so many benefits to the implant. And so again, if we're looking for something a little budget friendly, I encourage people, get that implant. I don't think you're making a mistake whatsoever. All right, William, can I use my Part D anywhere, such as when traveling, and with those pharmacies require a script from a local doc if I'm in a different state? Okay, William, anywhere. So yes, now, and the reason I say use it anywhere is because most of those plans are going to have your Walmart, your Costco, CVS, Walgreens, usually a variety of grocery stores, supermarkets that are going to be within their network. And so if you're somewhere, let's say you're in a urgent care facility and they write a prescription, as long as you're going to go to a national chain, you're going to be just fine. You give them your card and they will actually fill that prescription. So when you talk about a local doc, and it's, I don't think where the doctor's from is going to matter. If you have a prescription, then I believe that pharmacy, regardless of where the script is coming from, will fill that prescription. Now, if they have any questions, then they'll just simply call the doctor to make sure that's a legitimate prescription that's been written. Maybe they'll get something from them. I'm not sure. But I've never, ever had a client, and I've got lots of them who've ever experienced any kind of problem while traveling, not being able to get their medications. Okay, so I think you should be fine doing it that way, as long as you're going to go to a network pharmacy. You know, best to have one that's preferred pharmacy, but even if they're standard, you can get that prescription filled. Great question, sir. All right, if I'm 65, still working, and there are more than 20 employees who already have health insurance, do I need to let Medicare know that is why I'm not enrolling? Not at all, not at all. You don't have to notify them unless you're going to enroll, okay? So if you're fine with your present plan, and by the way, I'm going to encourage all of you, if you're on a good group plan, stay on that group plan. As long as there's 20 or more, you don't have to do anything with Medicare A or B. Now, I'm fine with people doing A only as long as you don't have an HSA. Because if you have an HSA and you enroll in a Medicare A only, you cannot put any new money into it. The plan that's the HSA is yours, but no new money can go into that if you have any part of Medicare. So again, I would, if I have an HSA, I say max that HSA out. You can put in what, $440 a month right now on an individual plan, and more than that if it's a family plan. So I like HSAs. So don't do A or B if you have an HSA. But if you don't have an HSA, you're going to keep working such as he is, 20 or more in the group, then take A only. Medicare A only will be in the second payer position. Your group plan is going to pay first, but A could pay a hospital claim. They'll pay co-insurance. And so I encourage people, do A only as long as you don't have an HSA. All right, what's next? Okay, what is the best way to find out if a provider works with Medicare, particularly with imaging procedures, to avoid surprise bills? Okay, well, first off, I've never heard of an imaging company that did not take Medicare. You know, the bulk of healthcare today is, you know, from seniors. Okay, so I think, I've never heard it. So I'm almost sure that any imaging company is going to take Medicare. Now, surprise bills, maybe you're talking about an excess charge. The imaging people cannot add to the bill. The only one that can add to a bill would be a physician, a specialist, primary care doctor, a surgeon. They can add to the bill. So I don't think there are going to be surprises here. And if you want to double check, just call them and ask them. Call a local imaging company and say, hey, do you take Medicare? And I am just sure 100% of the time they're going to. Never heard of imaging services that won't take Medicare. All right, Greg, to confirm if I have Plan G and I was hospitalized for more than 60 days, my supplemental plan, Mutual of Omaha, would kick in after my A coverage maxes out. That is true. Now, just so you know, Medicare covers up to 150 days, and then, yes, your G plan will fill in. But the way to look at it this way, folks, if I have a G plan or an N plan, if I'm hospitalized for up to 1 year and 5 months, it will not cost you a penny, okay, in the hospital. G or N, F as well, of course, because it covers all the gaps that you'll experience, which is the first 5 months of Medicare that they participate. After that, the supplemental plan will give you 365 more days at zero cost to you, okay? So you're covered 100% on A for 1 year and 5 months. All right, signed up with G-Care in August for 120, increased to 130 last month, going up again to 160 starting October. Are these increases normal? Should I shop for a different plan? Okay. Well, I'll say this. No, they're not normal, but sadly, they're normal for what's going on right now in this market. There's a couple things that are happening. Number one, medical inflation is high. The cost of care has truly increased, but also what's happening now is insurance companies are dealing with something that they have not had to at this level, and that is many people today are still working and they're covered by group plans, but a lot of those plans have high deductibles. So if people, what people are doing today is they're delaying getting rotator cuff surgery, knee replacements, hip replacement, cataract surgery, and they keep working with these ailments but don't go to their work plans to get coverage. And as soon as they go on Medicare, they're having these surgeries. And so now insurance companies are having to build that in because people are delaying these services until they actually go on Medicare. It's kind of somewhat of a new phenomenon. I'm not saying it's brand new. People have done this for years, but the amount of people that are doing this today, that's what's really driving up a lot of these med supp prices. So we do think this is going to stable out here, hopefully within the next couple of years. And again, for those of you, if that G doesn't work, then look at an N. At least you got the benefits of having a supplemental plan. And again, you're our customer. You can go to medigapcompare.com, medigapcompare.com, and see other rates if you'd like to, or just simply call and talk to our customer service team. We'd be delighted to talk with anyone really and share with you what is going on and ways you may be able to save some money. Even if you have to move carriers, we're happy to do that as well. All right, Shannon, what are your thoughts on the Physician Mutual Innovative G plan? Except 3 calendar years of a high deductible G, then continue on a G, but with N premiums. I would tell you, I think it may be fine. I definitely am not anti. It's against the Innovative G plan. I'm not. I do know that if you don't make that, that selection within that 3 years, then you're going to be, at least I think that's the way it works with this one, then you're going to be stuck on that high G for the rest of your life. I'm honestly not a real fan of high G plans because other than this innovative N that Physicians has, it usually can be permanent. Right now, I think the deductible is about $2,900. So you're going to be responsible to pay that deductible during that period of time. Do I think it's a crazy move? No. Am I going to go on that? No. I start Medicare this coming January. And so I'm not going to take a high G or an innovative N. I'm not going to do that. But I don't think that's crazy, please. So, we're all different. You may carry a certain deductible on your auto that I don't, or homeowners that I don't. We're just different. So if you're comfortable with it, go for it. I think there's some drawbacks to them that are legitimate, but I don't think it's the worst idea a person has right now at all. But we're just not doing a lot of those kind of plans for the reasons I mentioned. We don't like permanency, and people get on these plans and then they're stuck the rest of their life if they can't medically qualify to get off, unless they make that that selection there after 3 years. So you just want to forget to do that. All right, let's keep going. Kim, on Medicare Advantage now, on it 1 year, but husband has good insurance through his employer. Should I change back to original A and B? Well, Kim, if your husband has good insurance and is going to keep working for a while, if you're going to switch back, I would go ahead and drop off the B as well. I would disenroll from B and have A only. And so the way you do that, there's a form called the 1763. Now, as I say this, I'm going to clarify something, Kim. I'm going to make something clear. It is fine to disenroll from Part B as long as you're covered by a plan that has 20 or more and that you've had continuous employer coverage or Medicare back to 65 with no gaps. So if you've had some kind of gap where you didn't have a plan, either Medicare or an employer plan, I wouldn't want you to do anything. You just stay really right where you are. But if you've had continuous coverage on Medicare or an employer plan, then I would disenroll from Medicare Part B, fill out the 1763, mail that in, they'll drop off B, and then you'll have A only, and then you just be on your husband's plan fully. And then as you get ready, he gets ready to retire, whenever that is, then about 60 to 90 days prior to retirement, then you're going to enroll again in Medicare Part B, and then you'll have an opportunity to be able to pick out supplemental plan of your choice or go with an Advantage plan. All right. And so, but I'm just saying to you, if you're on the Advantage and want to leave it, or why not leave everything if the group plan is good? Okay. So again, call in, talk to one of our agents, please, Kim. They can work you through that scenario. I don't know enough details for sure of what you're paying and all that, if what I just suggested makes sense, but call in and one of our agents would be delighted to have a conversation with you about that. All right. That's all we got. Okay, folks. Well, looks like that's all the questions. I appreciate you tuning in. Next week, we will do this again. I've got a series of live events that I'm doing, so we may have to move the day or the time, whatever. We'll keep you informed as to what our schedule is next week for our live Q&A. Thanks so much. Take care.